Welcome to another edition of the Cognitive Discourse. Thanks for tuning in. Today I wanted to talk about another theory. I just recently released the ghost theory, and now I want to talk about one that's called the shopping cart theory. Now, the funny thing about the shopping cart theory is that I came across this post a few months ago, and I was laughing when I was reading it because I've always kind of had this mentality. I just never worded it and never expressed it in a text form. So when I read this, I was like, yes, this. So I'm going to read this to you guys and know that that's actually one of the most common type of, I guess, if I do judge people, because there are, as much as I say this platform is non-judgmental when we have discussions on a personal level, I do judge people's character by small things that they do. And not returning your shopping cart is one of those things that I look at you in a negative light when you do that. And then, of course, I tend to assume what kind of person you are based on that action, because the majority of the time, the people that don't put their shopping carts back, they all exhibit this similar characteristics. So I'm going to read this to you guys. You don't have to agree with it, but here we go. So this is called the shopping cart theory. The shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There is no situation other than a dire emergency in which a person is not able to return their cart. Simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it. No one will punish you for not returning the shopping cart. No one will fine you or kill you for not returning the shopping cart. You gain nothing by returning the shopping cart. You must return the shopping cart out of the goodness of your own heart. You must return the shopping cart because it's the right thing to do, because it is correct. A person who is unable to do this is no better than an animal, an absolute savage who can only be made to do what is right by threatening them with a law and the force that stands behind it. The shopping cart is what determines whether a person is good or bad member of society. Now, although the tail end part there always kind of makes me giggle because it does get a little extreme, there's a fair point there. The shopping cart is a prime example of something that really dictates what a person is willing to do when put in a position of there's really no consequence for either decision. It's just like the post said, it's the right thing to do. I myself am somebody who always return my cart, and again, I may have this mentality because I've worked in grocery stores before. I've worked in a lot of grocery stores, but you have, the people who put it away, such as myself. I put the cart away. I used it. I put it back, and there's the people who don't do it have so many different. I've seen so many different types of people who are in this mindset of making excuses of why they won't do it. They make excuses for their shitty behavior, and I find that hilarious. I've seen people, I think even on this post, when I had saw it, I was reading the comments under the thread, on that thread, and I believe one of the excuses, which I hear this excuse a lot from parents, from mothers, that they don't take their cart back because they have kids in the car. And for me, that also is an excuse for your shitty behavior. I have gone to the store many times with my children. I have 2 kids, and I still manage to put my cart back. Regardless if the wife is with me or not, regardless if my mom is with me or not, I still put the cart back. Again, that's also just trying to think ahead of time. I try to park close to a shopping cart corral, and again, being aware of my surroundings. And again, when I walk the cart to the corral, I lock my truck. My kids are inside the truck and I lock them. And you could be like, oh, well, you don't leave kids in a hot car. It's going to take me less than 2 minutes to put it away. My kids will be fine. So I lock the truck, take the cart back, and we go from there. Now, if it's not a lot of stuff and my kids themselves can carry it, then I actually walk the cart to the corral, pull my bags out, pull my kiddos out, make my kid carry a bag or two while I'm carrying her brother, and we walk to the truck. It's not hard. That's a bullshit excuse. And again, it's being lazy. And when people get called out on it, they don't take the accountability for it, and they want to make excuses. They want to get violent, and that's one of the things that if I find. There's a YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of it, but I think it's called Cart Narcs. If I'll link it in the description, that channel. If you've never seen it on YouTube, go check out Cart Narcs. I believe that's the name of the actual channel. If it's not the name of the channel, it's the name of the guy that he that's what he calls the group, Cart Narcs. And his channel is so cringy to watch, but I love watching it. He's a really cool dude, but that's exactly what he does. He walks up and down shopping malls and strip centers and stuff, and when people don't put their cart back, he's like, whoa, poop, 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 and he walks up to him and he's like, hey, Cart Narcs here. And he takes he has a magnet that has I think it says like something like, I'm a lazy bones, I didn't return my cart or something like that, and he puts it on the cars. And to watch people, it's so funny to watch people like go to the extent that they go to not take accountability for fucking up. There have been a few people who be like, oh, shit, you caught me, and they'll laugh about it and then go and they put their cart away. That's how you should react to that. Hey man, you got caught, you're being a lazy ass, take your cart back. One of the biggest excuses that gets under my skin, and it gets under my skin because, again, I used to work for these places. I don't work for them anymore. Target, I used to work for Target. I used to work for H-E-B, worked for Sam's Club. And Target was one of the ones where like we had to do pretty much everything. And, they will grab just people off the floor who are stocking and say, hey man, go outside and get carts. The cart corrals are there for that reason. And I hate when people are like, well, it's their job. No, motherfucker, it's not my job to chase down your cart to take it back inside. Like you're an asshole. Like you're an asshole. That's what the cart corrals are for. Because a lot of the times you have people like my wife. My wife's 4'11", and they'll send her ass out there to go do it. She used to work with Target. She don't work there no more either. But when me and her both were working at Target together, there were times they would send her out there. 4'11", and she's out there pushing carts. Now, her job isn't to go and chase carts down. Her job is to go and get the carts and bring them back up. And there's a machine that we use that collects all of them so we can easily take them there. We can't take that machine, driving it, walking around with it, trying to find all these carts. That's not part of our job description. So it gets under my skin when people say that, and a lot of people on that Cart Narc show will say that stuff. They'll be like, well, that's their job. It's like, no, it's not their job. But people, there's actually one episode, and it sucks because it was in Texas, I believe. But there was one where this guy, mind you, he was in a company vehicle too, which I find fucking hilarious. One, if you practice your Second Amendment, don't ever do this. But if you're a law-abiding citizen, don't do this because you will get in trouble. But there was an episode where the guy took his cart, and he was parked out, kind of out, far out from where the store was. He just put his cart on the curb right next to where he was parking, or where he's parked, and gets in his car and he's about to take off. Well, Cart Narc sees him, runs up, tells him, hey man, put your cart back, don't be a lazy bones. That's his favorite saying, lazy bones. And the guy's like, no, like, I'm not going to do it. And he's like, hey man, like, just put your cart back. And he goes, no. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to put a magnet. He puts a magnet on the car. And I love how they always try to distort it. Like, this dude is destroying their property. It's a magnet. It's not going to do anything to your car. He's not punching your car. He's not breaking anything. He's putting a magnet that's not going to destroy your property. So you have no real reason to get mad, in the sense of wanting to physically harm the cart narc, because he hasn't destroyed your property. He hasn't done anything to your property. If anything, the person who's being the most destructive is the asshat that don't want to put the cart back. Because when you don't put your cart back, guess what? Wind can blow, the cart can... My truck has been hit by carts because of lazy motherfuckers who don't want to put their cart back. That's more dangerous than somebody putting a magnet on your car. But they'll use that as an excuse to get physical with the cart narc. And this particular one, again, it's like, fuck, why'd I have to be in Texas? But he goes to put the magnet on, and this dude pulls out a Glock and racks the slide and goes, "Don't touch my car." So again, if you're a law-abiding citizen, don't do that. If a cop would have showed up, there's not really much they can do for just brandishing the weapon, but I'm sure there's still there's some type of legal ramifications for doing that. It's just not smart, especially in a situation like that where you're not in physical danger. You're not. It's not a viable excuse for self-defense. Like, you're gonna look really stupid if you would have shot that guy, killed him, and then you're in court and trying to tell the judge, "Well, he was gonna put a magnet on my car. I feared for my life because of a magnet. Oh my god!" And then they're like, "Well, why did he put a magnet on the car?" "Oh, because I was too lazy to take my fucking cart back." Like, it's a dumb reason to pull out a firearm, but good old Texas. But yeah, I mean, cart narcs, he has gotten into some really crazy situations. And again, hearing the excuses that some of these people use, hilarious. And the fact that they get so butthurt about a magnet is funny. And it shows kind of one of the reasons why I'm just kind of over society as a whole, in this like entitlement, in this self-indulge society that we live in. I'm over it, because that's something that you notice too, that these people have this mentality of like, well, because he'll tell them like, well, what if the cart rolls and hits somebody, or hits a child, or hits another car, and they all have kind of the same mentality of like, well, it's not me, so what do I care? These are the same people that will, park in a handicap spot and not have a handicap placard, or double park, just so people can't park next to them. And just so you know, if you're one of those assholes that does that, I have a lifted truck. I will park right next to your driver's side, and make it very difficult for you to get into your vehicle. Just so you know. I got big old tires on my truck, so. But yeah, like it blows my mind at how selfish, self-centered, and self-indulgent people have become. Because again, like you don't get anything out of taking the cart back other than the fact that you're just being a good person. You're being a responsible adult. You're putting it where it belongs. You know what I mean? Yes, you're not gonna break any laws. No one's gonna come and break your legs or anything like that. But I definitely feel like cart narcs are doing a service to the community by shaming these people. His safety has always kind of come into question with certain people. But the fact that he continues to do it, I applaud him, because I had known my family with that too. I've done that before. I'll call people out like, "Hey man, take your cart back." I'm not going to film you. I'm not going to put you on YouTube and make a channel out of it, but put your cart back, dude. Don't be an asshole. I've called people out on parking on places that aren't parking spots, which, believe it or not, a lot of them are older women who are in really expensive cars. In my personal experience, which I always laugh because they're always very mouthy. I saw a lady one time at a grocery store who was parked and it wasn't a parking spot. It was closed off. It wasn't what it was. It was, the handicap spots that have the lines next to them that are sectioned off. Those are sectioned off so people who have vans who need to get somebody out who may be in a wheelchair has room to get them out of the vehicle. And she was parked in that area. And she had her window down. She was on her phone. And I just simply said, "Hey, ma'am, that's not a parking spot." "Fuck you. Who are you?" Blah, 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 blah. I was like, "Oh, wait, calm the fuck down. It's not a parking spot. It's meant there for people who are handicapped." Are you a cop? Are you? I'm not. I'm just another citizen. Well, mind your fucking business. All right, cool. Well, when the person shows up who actually needs that space to get their wheelchair out, I'm hoping you're not a cunt to them like you were to me. Again, it's about just being a good person, doing things that just as a good person, it's expected of you as a good person. I don't understand why people are always wanting to cheat the system, and that's why I love that cart theory. It really boils down to the most simple, most basic thing to really let somebody know if they're a good person or not. But again, it's the little things that I noticed, like another example outside of the shopping cart thing. I was watching a interview with Carlos Mencia, and he's been coming out recently and doing podcasts and still really not taking ownership of that whole debacle that went on when Joe Rogan called him out years ago. This was like 10 years ago. He's still making excuses. But I remember watching a video and I pointed it out. What I liked about this particular interview was, and if I can find it again, I'll post it in the link too, so you can watch it. That way, everything I'm talking about, I'll try to post down in the link. I'll post the links down in the description so you can check out, so you kind of know what I'm talking about. But there was this interview of this guy who was interviewing Carlos, and I love this dude because this dude called Carlos out on his bullshit and called him out a lot. And I actually left a comment on the video because despite everything that was said on a verbal level and all that stuff, there was something in particular that I noticed 3, 4, 5 minutes into the video that right away struck me as, because Carlos is doing this, it plays into the kind of person Carlos is. Ned is. And that is, they were sitting at a table across from each other, and it was a nice studio, and they both had drinks. Carlos, aka Ned, had a Starbucks. The host was also drinking something, and he had a coaster. Now, there was a coaster on the side where Carlos was sitting. Carlos's drink was nowhere near that coaster, and it was sitting on that beautiful, nice wood table that he had. And as I'm watching it, that was the comment I left. I was like, the fact that Carlos has the coaster literally sitting right in front of him, and he refuses to put his cup on it, tells you everything you need to know about who Carlos Ned Mencia is. So again, it's those little things. I try not to be a judgmental person when it comes to this podcast. If somebody comes to this podcast with opinions and views and observations about something, I'm willing to hear them out. But that doesn't mean that I don't judge you on a personal level by little things like that. Little things like that tend to kind of help paint your characteristic. And the type of person I'm dealing with, the type of person that I can trust, the type of person that I could see myself, having my kids around, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't want to say that I'm 100% judge free in my everyday life. I think that you need to profile and be judgmental to a point in real life, to be self-aware, of not only yourself, but your surroundings. You need to know who you're surrounding yourself around. And so, reading that shopping cart theory, really kind of tapped into, I was like, oh shit, like I tend to there are little things that I look for when I'm talking to somebody, when I meet somebody. Again, and it comes down to, real basic stuff too, like the manners, to your handshake. Do you look at me in the eyes when you talk? You know, and with that, like, I'm not looking for like straight eye contact the entire time. Because I tend to, when I'm talking to somebody, if I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next, I tend to my eyes shift off a little bit. I think they go to the right. I don't know, they shift off, and because I'm thinking, and then I get focused back in on you. But like, are you engaged in the conversation? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm looking for. Like eye contact occasionally will let me know that you're engaged with that conversation. Handshakes, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Like I feel like we've lost a lot of that stuff. And again, of course, now people are walking on eggshells because of the whole gender thing, but it still doesn't take away from my manners. Like that there are things that I do in my everyday life that are just a force of habit. Because again, I want to be the best version of myself. So if that means that somebody hands me a coaster, especially if someone hands me a coaster, if there's a coaster near me, that's you telling me like, hey man, if can you put your drink there, without actually having to tell me, hey, can you put your drink on the coaster? When you hand me a coaster, or if there's a coaster in my vicinity of where I'm sitting, that's a given. Like, hey man, put it there. I don't want rings on my table. You know what I mean? Like it's common courtesy. It's the lack of self-awareness, or the lack of awareness in general of your surroundings that kind of show that entitlement, show that self-absorbedness in individuals. So like something as simple as a coaster, or something as simple as putting your cart back, really can tell people a lot about who you are and what type of person you are. But never fear, you can always change that. If you're a person who didn't really put their carts back, try putting the cart back. Again, you're not changing the world. No one's going to come and pat you on the back. You're not going to win $1 million for doing it, but it's just the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do. Because again, your cart could go and it could hit someone's car. It could hit a kid. It could hit an animal. It could hit an old lady. Somebody old who's really fragile. You could hit them with that and break a bone. You know what I mean? So just be a good person. And if you get called out on your bullshit, fucking own it. That's another thing I can't stand, is that you can't call people out. People cannot take being called out and being held accountable for their actions. And I mean, we could get into a whole nother subsection of accountability that I don't want to get into right now, but you see that across the board as of lately, people just not wanting to take accountability, and it sucks. So if you're listening to this, I definitely urge you to go check out Cartnarks and go watch how ugly and stupid and lazy these people look. And if you're one of those people who don't put your cart back, understand that you are in the same category as those cringy ass people. And you can change that by just taking your cart back. And again, like if I'll find that video if I put it down for the Carlos Mencia one too. That one's a very interesting one. Again, that's just the interview itself was really good, but that way you can also see what I was talking about with the coaster, and see that literally the coaster's right there, and his Starbucks cup is just like, nope. But if you're that type of individual, maybe do some soul searching, man. And if you think that this episode's worthless, and that, if you have that mentality of it's not that serious, man, well, I really don't know what else to say to you, man. Just know that if I see you not put your cart back in a public place, I'm going to call you out on it. And I'm not doing it to try to cause drama. I'm not doing it to try to cause a physical altercation, but I will call you out on that. And depending on how you respond to that, will tell the world what type of person you are. So, like I said, every day, let's try to make ourselves better than we were yesterday, and let's try to keep moving forward in a positive light. With that being said, enjoy your Friday, have a safe and fun weekend, and until next time.